Alright, so you've probably seen all the hype around the CMF Phone 2 Pro by nothing. Budget friendly, funky design and packed with features. But instead of throwing it against the newer Honor 400, I've lined it up with the Honor 200 because let's be real, they're a lot closer in price and that makes for a fairer fight. So if you're torn between these two sleek mid-rangers, I'm here to break it down for you casually, not too much tech jargon. And if you're interested in more budget and mid-range phone reviews, hit subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. So let's start with the design, because both of these phones are serious eye catchers in their own way. The CMF Phone 2 Pro leans into that signature nothing vibe, flat edges, a customizable back with some funky accessories and some fun color options. It's bold, playful, and you're definitely not mistaking it for anything else in the coffee shop. The Honor 200 on the other hand is more elegant, slightly curved back, a premium matte finish and a camera module that's more stylish than shouty. It feels more grown up and a bit more refined in the hand. Both phones have a pretty solid build, with the CMF phone having that unique personality. The Honor 200 you take to dinner, the CMF Phone 2 Pro you take to a gig. And next onto the displays, and to be honest with both of these phones, you're pretty spoiled here. The Honor 200 has a stunning 6.7-inch OLED panel with a 1.5K resolution and 120Hz refresh rate. Colours pop, blacks are deep, and the brightness gets seriously high, like 4000 nits peak brightness kind of high. The CMF Phone 2 Pro isn't far behind. It's got a 6.7-inch 120Hz AMOLED as well, but sticks to full HD+. Still, it's crisp, smooth, and totally fine, even if you're pixel peeping. And for most people, both displays are absolutely fine. But if you're into a bit more content consumption and doing a little bit more with your phone, I think the Honor 200 just has that slightly more premium display. And both of these phones have some pretty uniform bezels around the outside as well. CMF Phone 2 Pro bezels are just a little bit chunkier than what you find on the Honor 200. Overall, both are really nice displays. My only bugbear is with the CMF Phone 2 Pro. I did have a bit of an issue with the auto brightness where it would just basically do whatever it wants. But overall, for the most part, neither has any issues with these displays. And as for performance on both of these phones, they both perform very similar. You've got a Snapdragon 7 Gen 3 on the Honor 200, and the CMF Phone 2 Pro is rocking a MediaTek Dimensity 7300 Pro. Like I said, none of them are going to blow you away with raw power, with raw specs or anything like that, but they are both absolutely fine for just your everyday use. A little bit of light to moderate gaming is absolutely fine, and they're both pretty efficient as well, which we'll get more onto the battery life in a minute. But yeah, overall, I've not had any stutters with either of the phones, so it's just really your choice between a Snapdragon or a MediaTek processor. And of course, MediaTek used to have a bit of a reputation of being underpowered in comparison to Snapdragon processors, but that's not really the case anymore. And this 7300 is absolutely fine. So if you're just a general user, uses your phone for social media, maybe a bit of like gaming, camera use and that sort of thing, you'll be absolutely fine with both of these phones. And both phones are paired with 8 gigs of RAM. That is the only option on the CMF Phone 2 Pro. But the Honor 200, I guess it's market dependent, can go all the way up to 16 gigs of RAM with 512 gigs of storage. And then you're just capped at 256 gigs of storage on the CMF Phone 2 Pro. My model here, 8 gigs of RAM, 256, plenty for most people, absolutely. So yeah, they're both pretty neck and neck, at least my devices here, with obviously the Honor having a few more options as well. And if you want a high quality case for your Honor smartphone or even maybe a OnePlus phone, check out these cases from channel sponsor Tudia. The Merge Grip case for your Honor or OnePlus device offers a perfect balance of durability and style. Designed to complement the phone's sleek profile, it provides a secure fit without unnecessary bulk. Its smooth yet sturdy build ensures long-lasting use while maintaining a comfortable feel in the hand. Use the discount code on screen for 20% off any of the phones down in my video description. Thank you for Tudia for sponsoring this part of the video. Okay, so it's camera time. And both of these phones are actually offering some really great photography chops. The Honor 200, you've got a 50 megapixel main camera, a 50 megapixel 2.5x telephoto, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. The main sensor is powered by some AI magic from Honor's collaboration with portrait photographer studio Hardcore, and portraits in particular are really, really great. The CMF Phone 2 Pro also houses 3 usable cameras, which is a nice improvement over the previous generation. A 50 megapixel main camera, a 50 megapixel 2x telephoto camera, and then an 8 megapixel ultra wide. And both of these phones produce some really nice results from all of their cameras. I found that the colors on the Honor 200 seem to be a little bit more natural in a lot of the scenarios, whereas CMF seem to go for a more saturated look. But overall, they're both really great quality cameras. Switch into the telephoto camera. Of course, the Honor 200 can just punch in just that little bit more, but both have that 50 megapixel resolution. Of course, pixel binning as the usual. And then you've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide on the CMF Phone 2 Pro. And then of course that 12 megapixel ultra wide on the Honor 200. And the ultra wides definitely seem to be the least polished across both of these phones. They're absolutely fine in daylight. You do get a little bit of loss of detail around the edges, but nothing major. But overall, there's some pretty decent cameras. And then when it comes to the software, these are two pretty different experiences. The CMF Phone 2 Pro runs Nothing OS 3.2 on top of Android 15, and honestly, it's clean, snappy, and super minimal. You also get some pretty decent software support with 3 years of major OS updates, and then 6 years of security patches. And the Honor 200 runs MagicOS 9 on top of Android 15, is packed with features, a little heavier, and leans into customization with more built-in tools. Some people will love the extras, others might prefer cleaner feel of Nothing OS. And the Honor 200, you do actually get 4 years of major Android updates and 6 years of security patches, but because the phone is a year older, they work out about the same. But overall, the software experience on both of these phones is absolutely great. I'm not really too fussy over the software skins that I use. I've always been a fan of MagicOS and all their customization options, and then Nothing OS is a pretty stock feeling version of Android. And then of course there's One UI, which I'm also a very big fan of as well. So overall software experience on both of these phones is great. It's just a case of whether you want to choose a more stock sort of version of Android with the CMF Phone 2 Pro over MagicOS on the Honor 200. And when it comes to the battery on both of these phones, you get a 5000 milliamp hour battery on the CMF Phone 2 Pro, 5200 on the Honor 200. Both will get you through a full day of pretty moderate use. You can definitely stretch to potentially 3 days if you're a light user. So in terms of the battery life, absolutely solid on both of these phones. But here's where it gets interesting. You've got 33 watt charging on the CMF Phone 2 Pro, but with a compatible charger, you've actually got support of up to 100 watt charging on the Honor 200. Now, if you find yourself a compatible charger, that's enough to get you from 0 to 100% in just 40 minutes, which is just insane charging speeds. Now, Honor did actually reduce that for the Honor 400 down to 66 watts, which again is still faster than the CMF Phone 2 Pro. So battery life on both of these, absolutely solid to get you through a full day of moderate use. But personally for me, I have found that the Honor 200 does prove to have better battery life. Just that little bit extra juice is just enough to tip the scales in its favor. Personally for me, you guys might find a different experience. Do let me know down in the comments. And if you're enjoying this video so far, hit subscribe. We've got plenty more gubbins on the way. Let's carry on. And then when it comes to extras, it's only really the CMF Phone 2 Pro that has some extra features, so to speak. Now, I haven't got any of the extras, unfortunately, but you can add an extra back plate onto the back. There's some camera lenses you can add on as well. You can unscrew this bit to add a lanyard and stuff like that. So there's plenty more quirky bits that might tip the CMF Phone 2 Pro in your favor. Now, the Honor 200 doesn't nail anything in particular, but it does have the benefit of having arguably better cameras with that further reach and that high megapixel ultra wide, and then faster charging. Performance is very, very similar. So what's the key takeaway with both of these phones? Now, the CMF Phone 2 Pro, if you want something that looks a little bit different, can be a little bit more fun, a more cleaner version of Android, that's certainly going to be the better option for you. Now, if you want a phone that's got a bit better battery life, much faster charging, an arguably nicer screen, better cameras, I definitely recommend the Honor 200. And of course, you could pay a little bit more money if you wanted to go for the Honor 400, which gets you 6 years of OS updates, a massive 200 megapixel camera. But like I said, it does cost potentially 100, 150 quid more. But let me know down in the comments what you would pick. Ooh, nearly broke that. What you would pick out of the Honor 200 or the CMF Phone 2 Pro. If you want to see more comparisons like this, be sure to let me know down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. and I'll see you in the next one.